Hello and welcome to this tutorial. In our previous tutorial, what we've just done is we've just created a table. We've created some methods to go to that table, which will allow us to be able to add to a user's table, which users, when they are registering for application, they will enter their details. So this particular tutorial is going to focus on the layout side of things because we've just done the back end. So let's look at the activity register. Now, inside the activity register, if you're new to Android Studio or you've been following our tutorials, you will notice that on the left-hand side, you have a palette. On the bottom side, you have a component tree. You have attributes here as well. Now, this palette allows you to drag and drop stuff onto the screen. Android Studio gives you 3 different options to be able to create your interface or your graphical user interface. You can either do it by the design, which is what we're looking at right now. You can split it and do it by code and also be able to make some adjustments to the design while you're doing it. Or you can strictly use code. Now, for this purpose, I'm going to be using both. So you see me use the design and also use the code. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to change the constraint layouts, which is the default way. I'm just going to, I want to use a linear layout because I find that I like working with linear layouts better. So I'm going to change that to a linear layout. Let's go back. I think we did too much copying or too much cutting. So linear layout now. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an orientation. Now, Android, when you use a linear layout, because there are 2 different linear layouts, we have horizontal and vertical. You have to specify which one you're using in order for Android Studio to know. So I'm just going to, if I start to type in orientation, Android Studio will give you the option of whether to select a vertical or a horizontal. I'm going to choose vertical. And then I'm going to go back to the design side of it. And then you see here that I have a linear layout here. I can also give my linear layout an ID. Now let me give it, usually I don't really give it an ID, but I'm going to give it an ID. And the reason why we need to give IDs to views or components is because once you give that component or view an ID, you are able to find that ID and make changes to it. So it's important that you have an ID for it. Everybody has an identity. So I'm just going to call this layout. Usually with a layout, I usually would, let's say, LO, and I want to call it main. LO main, or we can say LY for layout. Just sounds better than LO. So LY main would be our ID. And you realize that the minute you give it an ID, it changes the name to L main as well. And what I'm going to do here is we need a form. So we're going to create a form. Now in our form, it's a registration form. So the person needs to enter their full name. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on text. When I click on text, we have the option of a text view, plain text, a password, numeric, email, phone. For the purpose, I'm just going to use plain text for now. You can use password if you want to, but I'm just going to use plain text for all of them. So I'm just going to drag plain text, click on plain text, drag plain text onto the screen. I'm going to drag another plain text onto the screen. So the first one is a full name. Second one is an email address. Third one is an organization. Fourth one is a phone number. Fifth one is a password. And then the 6th one, I believe, let's go to our, let's check in our users to see what we had. And then we have a rank. So if I go to my activity to register, you notice that we have a rank. So I'm going to drag another one there. I'm going to drag a numeric one. Actually, we can drag a number one, or we can use a text. It wouldn't really make, if we use a number one, it forces the user to always enter a number out of 1 or 2. So for now, I'm just going to use a number or a text. You can use a text or a number. It doesn't really matter at this stage. So this is what we have so far. So you can see here that we've added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 edit texts or edit text number, whatever you want to call it. And you see that Android Studio is telling us that, oh, the touch target is too small. Usually when you see these exclamation marks, Android Studio gives you some hints. I'm just going to click on fix to fix them. When I double click on them, Android Studio is giving me some help. Thank you, Mr. Android Studio. Okay, so it's now telling me the item may not have a label readable by screen users. We just need to add a label to it. That's generally it. So what we can do is, if Android Studio is going to give us more problem, we can just convert it, but it doesn't really make a difference. We'll change that later on. So what we have here now is we've added some text boxes to our screen. Now, next we need to add is a button. We need to add a button. So when you click on buttons, you have the option of button, image button, chip group, chip, checkbox, radio group, radio button. What I'm going to do is I am going to add 2 buttons. The first button is going to be login. The second button, no, the first button is going to be register. The second button is going to be login, just in case we want the user to go to a login page. But we're just going to keep it for there now. We might not add the functionalities now. So if you've managed to do this, we're halfway there. We're actually halfway there. Now, the next thing I need to do is go into my code. Like I said, I can change the IDs here. In fact, let me change the IDs here. I'll change some IDs here so that at least if you're new to Android Studio, you know that, oh, you can change the IDs here. You can also do it in the code. So for this case, I'm just going to do EDT full name. Refactor. You can do EDTE email address. And when you click out, you have to refactor. So I've done 2 here. Now, what if I wanted to do it in the code? Again, same thing. I'll go in the code. So what I have is I've done full name already. I've done email address already. Let's say I want to do the next one, which is EDTE. I believe it's a phone number. And then EDTE organization. I think organization comes before phone number, but it's fine. And then EDTE password. And then EDTE phone number. Let's just put number for now because I think something already existed. An ID already exists with that name of that number. And then for our button, we're just going to call it BTN register. BTN. Let's say you want to go to login. So what we've just done here is we've just given IDs to all our elements. Now, what we want to go through is to make sure that our edit text, it also has, these are called attributes. So these are the attributes that we were doing in the design side of things. I don't want the text here to say name, because if the user starts to type in, the first thing that will give them is a name, which means that they'll have to add on to the name and they have to click backspace, backspace, backspace to remove the name. So I rather want to make a hint. Hint means that it's like a placeholder, similar to, you know, when you go on websites and you see that it tells you that enter your full name, and the minute you start to enter, it disappears. That's what the hint is for. So I'm just going to make this into a hint as well. And this hint is going to be email address. And this hint is going to be phone number. And this hint is going to be organization. This, and then this hint is going to be password. And this edit number. And this button is going to be register. This button is going to be login. For number, it didn't really give us a text, so we just leave it at that, because when you click on it, you have to add an input to it. Maybe let's try and see if hint will work for it. Let's give it number. Let's see. So if we go to our activity register, and go to our design, you will see that everything that we wanted it to happen has already happened. So if I zoom in now, you'll be able to see that a name, email address, phone number, organization, password, number. That's what we currently have here. I think the last bit of something that we've forgotten is the rank. Actually, the rank is the number. So let's go to our activity, our code, and just put rank, just so that the person will be able to know that they're entering their rank. Usually with ranks, you don't want a person to enter. You want them to select. So that's for another tutorial. Just for this tutorial, just want to register a person. So this is a tutorial on how to register. We've done the activity, we've done the layout. This is the layout that we want. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how to connect and add the code together and then bring everything together